Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. We just hit 42.1k subscribers. Let's get to 43k. Please like this video down below and subscribe to the channel. And today we are going to talk about the current electoral map by current polling, and we're going to see what Trump exactly needs to do, what states he exactly needs to flip, and what states I really do believe Trump is doing a lot better in than what the polls currently say. What is Trump's path to victory? What states should he be focusing on right now, and which states should he be focusing on leading up to the election? Because the strategy will differ between now and the election. There are many things that could happen between now and the elections. We see the polls tightening. We can talk about the Emerson poll today that shows it a 4-point race, and if that is the case, Trump probably would have a 50-50 shot at winning through the Electoral College, and we could also talk about why that poll is probably one of the most accurate polls by the certain metrics it used in terms of using likely voters, the fact that it was right on in the 2018 elections. But we are mainly just going to focus today on filling out the map and seeing what Trump needs to do and what his path to victory is based on the current polling map. And we obviously know there are flaws, and I'll get to those. But first, a message from our sponsors over at Raid Shadow Legends. Want to be the hero of your own fantasy? Enter the epic world of Teleria, where the Dark Elves meet the Sacred Order and the Banner Lords are in an endless war with the undead hordes. Collect, equip, train, and upgrade your team of heroes in order to start a journey of a lifetime. Raid Shadow Legends will take you to the world of dark fantasy and realism, and it is free to play and available for both mobile and PC. I like the fact that the gameplay is fun, the gameplay is easy, and there are a lot of battles. And by the time you're watching this video, the brand new Tag Team Arena should be live in-game. The Tag Arena is the next level of competition for PvP battles. Instead of a single 4 vs 4 battle like in Classic Arena, it's actually a series of 3 4 vs 4 battles. It's the best of 3. Whoever wins 2 battles wins the series. It's basically Arena on hard mode, and since it's brand new, the developers will be giving out special rewards soon to whoever manages to finish high up in the rankings. So if you're like me, and you love truly competitive PvP with some big rewards, you're going to love Tag Arena. So what are you waiting for? Go to the video description, click on the special links, and you will get 50,000 silver and a free epic champion as part of the new player program to start your journey. Good luck, and I'll see you there. So alright guys, today we are going to go through this. Currently the map right now for the polling has it at 352 for Biden, 186 for Trump, and I can just come out and tell you guys right now that's not going to happen because Trump is not going to lose the state of Ohio. There's one poll out of Rasmussen that used terrible methodology, did not even weigh by education, that is Biden up in Ohio by 4, and that is what is weighing Ohio into Biden's column. But that same poll had Pennsylvania voting 1 point to the right of Ohio, and we know that that is not going to happen this election cycle. We know that's virtually impossible, and we do know that the polls in Ohio, Indiana, Missouri, and Iowa in particular, and to a lesser extent Wisconsin, always tend to underestimate Republicans. They did it in 2016, and they did it in the midterms, and even in some cases the midterm election polls were way off compared to the presidential election polls in 2016 that many people have criticized as bad. People always look at Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, but they forget to mention the polls in Ohio were off. Trump was up in the final aggregate in Ohio by 2%. Personally, I thought he was going to win it by like 4 or 5, and he ended up winning it by 8 to 9%. Personally, I think Ohio is one of these states that's going to go to Trump no matter what. So we can fill Ohio in, and we can put that in the Trump column. And we can take a look at this and see that Trump is already at 204 electoral votes. Now, he only needs 66 more electoral votes to win, and we're going to talk about how he is exactly going to do this. And there are 4 states that he really needs to win at this point, and states he needs to focus on. So currently, right now, his main goal is to solidify his support in the Sun Belt. We've seen polls that have him down or roughly within the margin of error in places like Arizona, North Carolina, and Florida. His strategy between now and like September should be to solidify his support. Go to North Carolina, where the convention is going to be held. Go to Florida. Go to Arizona. And obviously Texas, touch base on Texas, Georgia. In the meantime, get your support solidified in the Sun Belt. Spend time there, spend energy. A lot of talk has been about Trump dropping Michigan. People are like, oh, Trump's quitting in Michigan. He's quitting the election. That's not true. Michigan, believe it or not, is very winnable for this president. A lot of the polls have it actually a lot closer than those same polls had it back in 2016, especially at this point, by the way. Trump is very well within a striking distance in these 3 states. The bottom line is Trump is solidifying his energy focus on the Sun Belt for now, which I think is a great strategy strategy he is employing. And when you talk about Michigan, Trump is putting money back into Michigan in September, which is genius. It's what he did last time. He's trying to make that final push in the Rust Belt, and that's going to help him win. Because honestly, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, when it's all said and done, if he ends up winning these states by 4 or 5 even, I'm not going to be surprised. Do I think that's going to happen? No. But I think there is a little bit of a possibility that Trump does surprise a lot of people and outperforms expectations again in the Rust Belt. The shy Trump voter is very much a factor, and many pollsters even admit this, and a lot of Democrats in the polls, it'll ask the polls, do you think that there are people that the pollsters contact that are too afraid to say that they are voting for Donald Trump? And like 60 to 70% of the respondents, even a big chunk of the Democrats and left-leaning independents, actually agree. So right now it's 204 to 334, but Trump needs to focus on North Carolina. North Carolina, if you take a look at North Carolina, it is a state where the party registration data is vastly favoring the Republicans. People always say Red Eagle is not a good analyst because he does not use data, but obviously if we want to look at the data, the party registration data in North Carolina and Florida, they're actually favoring Republicans, and there's a lot of time to make up the ground. There was a poll that came out the other day that even had Dan Forrest tied with Roy Cooper. I don't believe that poll is accurate, but I do believe that Donald Trump is going to run fairly even with Biden if the election were held today. And we do know early polling in North Carolina tends to favor Dems a little bit historically. Many of the signs that we see now off the data do point to North Carolina staying with Trump. A very long history of supporting Republicans as well, aside from the 2008 fluke where Obama ended up winning. Biden was the VP then. However, in 2012, he was the VP and he lost to Romney. Donald Trump, he's going to have a little bit of an issue in terms of the growing suburbs in the Research Triangle, but he may even do better in the rural part of the state when it's all said and done. North Carolina is a key part of a Trump victory. He has to win North Carolina. I really do believe that he will end up winning it at the end of the day. There is a lot of support out there for Trump, especially in the Appalachian region of the state, and I do expect that to save him again. And the polls right now have Biden up in the state by, 1 or 2 points. That easily could change. That's margin of error type stuff. And we know the registration data in North Carolina is favoring Trump. And we can now look at the other states Trump needs to win. I'm going to talk about Florida. Florida is a state where you have the registrations neck and neck, really. Obviously, Democrats will brag about their big lead in terms of mail-in ballot returns, but a lot of Republicans are going to vote on Election Day, and we are going to see when the Florida primary eventually happens what exactly will go down in the state of Florida. Personally, I think this is a state that's going to go down the wire. The polls that have Biden up by 13 off Quinnipiac, they always release these polls. They had one that had, I think it was DeSantis down 9. They had Hillary up by 9 or 10 points in the summer. They do this every single time, Quinnipiac. They release a very big lead poll in Florida. And Florida's always a close state. We know Florida is a close state. Even when John McCain got lambasted by Obama in 2008, Florida was within 3 percentage points. Florida has always been a close state. It always favors Republican incumbents. I do expect that lead to tighten as we do see a little bit of the national polls tightening. We do see Trump's approval rating shooting up to about 44% nationally. That is very good. He's getting closer to the pre-riots approval rating. And the virus in Florida has been out of control lately. That's probably negatively affecting Trump and DeSantis, although it's kind of under control if you look at the case rate. The cases are dropping. Deaths are increasing still, but again, deaths are a lagging indicator. And that could be weighing Trump down in the polls too. So obviously I do expect the polls to tighten, and I do expect Trump's energy to increase as we lead up to the election. So I do think Florida is a key part of a Trump victory. He does not have to win Florida because he can win with the 3 Rust Belt states, but Florida is a very key step in the Trump victory, and I do believe that Trump will win it at the end of the day. Even if he does lose, I think he'll still win Florida, but he has to win Florida if he wants to win. So already we're at 248 to 290. This is probably what it would be. You could say either if the election were held today in terms of the current polling, or if the midterm election was put on an electoral map, this would be exactly what it would look like. And I do want to talk about Arizona because I think Arizona has a bigger chance at staying with Trump than a lot of people think. First of all, Republicans have always had a great history of winning in Arizona. A Democrat has not cracked 46.2%, I believe, in the state since 1948. So Democrats obviously have a long history of losing there, and we do know Kyrsten Sinema did win in 2018, although the state technically has been a very historically high state in terms of ticket splitting. A lot of McCain voters in the state in 2016 ended up also voting for Hillary Clinton. 2018, a lot of Cinema Ducey voters, a lot of voters for John Kill and Janet Napolitano back in 2006. In fact, a lot of them, probably about 20 to 25% of the electorate, could fit that bill. And there were a lot of voters on the right, on the conservative side back in 2016 that did not vote for Donald Trump, that I do believe will be voting for Trump this time around. A lot of them voted for McMullen. A lot of the, shy Mormon voter didn't want to exactly come out to support Trump, but now probably would decide to pick Trump because the third-party vote share will decline. And the John McCain thing is not as in bad of a taste in so many people's mouths. And we also saw this data today in terms of mail-in voting registrations. We do see this, the Democratic ballot return advantage by party. We can see this here, that Maricopa, Democrats are actually down in Maricopa. They do lead overall by around 15 to 20,000 votes. However, we do have to take this with a little bit of a grain of salt because we do know that Republicans are probably more likely to end up voting in person. So Republicans could actually outdo the Democrats, and that would be a very good sign if they do that in the congressional primary here. But one thing is key, and that we do know, is if Republicans are doing fairly well in Maricopa, that means they probably have a very good chance at keeping the state, and I think that they really could. Definitely, if they can bring some of those third-party and Mormon voters home, if Trump can easily make an outreach to them, which is policy-wise. He's been very conservative in policy, and he's probably a little bit more of a neocon than he was in 2016. There's a lot of neocons in Arizona, and I'm not exactly a fan of some of Trump's more neocon-esque policies, but it does help him, regardless, in the state of Arizona. Maine's 2nd district, I think, is a key part of it. There was one poll that had Trump within the margin of error there, but I don't think that's necessarily the be-all and end-all of everything. I think the metrics would still point to a Trump victory in Maine's 2nd district. The Republican governor candidate won it soundly in the midterms, and it would have gone red in the midterms in the House election if it was not for ranked choice voting. In terms of Maine 2nd, I think it does stay in Trump's column. So he's already at 260. Now, I think that this map is very possible. I think Trump can win all of these states leading up to Election Day. Now, the states that he needs to focus on are Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Once he solidifies the 260 firewall, he can focus on Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, maybe to a lesser extent, New Hampshire. But the number one state I think Trump needs to really focus on is Pennsylvania because it's 20 electoral votes. Say he wins Pennsylvania, but at the same time he loses Arizona. He still holds a 269 margin. He could win it in the House under the right circumstances. But Pennsylvania is a key state to watch. Primary data didn't look that good for Republicans, but there are a lot of polls that are showing Pennsylvania being a tight race. There was a poll that had Trump down by 3. There was a poll that had Trump down by 4. And that's relatively within the margin of error, and that could really narrow as we get closer to the election. We know that 2 weeks away from the election back in 2016, Hillary Clinton held a 9.2% lead over Donald Trump in the state of Pennsylvania. So these things can change very, very quickly. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, where the primary data looked fairly good for the Republicans. In Wisconsin, I think that's another state Trump should focus on winning as well. Michigan also, I think Michigan, there's a lot of potential for Trump to hold it as well, especially as the rural counties will probably maintain their support for him. You see Wayne County's population dipping a little bit. A lot of people in the Detroit metro area that lean a little bit left have moved to places like Georgia and Arizona in the Atlanta and Phoenix metro areas respectively. However, that's not necessarily going to be enough to flip those states, but at the same time it helps Trump a little bit in Michigan. So the same map in 2016 could very well happen again. This is not my prediction. This is Trump's pathway. Obviously, you look at a state like New Hampshire, potentially flipping. Trump lost it by 3,000. He's done a decent amount for the opioid epidemic out in New Hampshire. Minnesota, if Trump handled the riots a little bit better, I think he would have a much better shot at flipping it. There's been some polling. I think the last 3 polls there have Biden up by an average of 4 points. So it could potentially flip as we get closer to the election. I don't think Trump should ignore it completely. I just think that he has bigger fish to fry, especially because it's only 10 electoral votes. Same thing with Nevada. Obviously, I think he could flip Nevada if he tried hard enough, but holding Arizona is a little bit more imperative. So anyways, guys, that's Trump's game plan, the snake leading up to the election. Which states are going to flip first, what Trump needs to focus on. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media, join the Patreon or subscribe, star links in description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.